My name is Clara, and I never imagined that a friendship I cherished for so many years would become tangled in so much frustration because of someone else. Someone who isn't even directly part of my life, but has managed to cast a heavy shadow over it. Helena and I had been friends for almost 15 years. We met when we were both students abroad, and from the very beginning, there was an ease between us, the kind of connection you don't find often. We could talk for hours about books, travel, and our shared dreams for the future. Over time, life took us in different directions, different cities, different jobs, and eventually, motherhood. But despite it all, we managed to hold on to that thread of friendship. But then came Marco. From the very first time I met Helena's husband, I sensed something was off. He was loud in ways that weren't joyful, opinionated in ways that weren't insightful, and he carried with him this restless aggression, as though he were permanently scanning the world for insults only he could detect. At first, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was nervous, maybe he had a stressful day at work, maybe it was just me being overly sensitive. But with each dinner, each coffee outing, each double date that Helena seemed so eager to arrange, the truth became harder and harder to ignore. Marco was unbearable. It wasn't only the rudeness. It was the way he seemed to feed on conflict. If a waiter was too slow, he made a scene. If a dish wasn't precisely how he wanted it, he complained loudly enough for half the restaurant to hear. If the bill came and there was some minor discrepancy, he acted as if he'd been personally wronged by an elaborate scam. I would sit there, smile frozen in place, my heart sinking deeper each time, while Helena tried to brush it off with awkward laughter or excuses. The last time we went out together, though, was the tipping point. We had planned lunch at a small, beautiful restaurant tucked away in a side street in Vienna. I had looked forward to it, hoping against hope that maybe this time things would be different. The restaurant had glowing reviews, known for its warmth and hospitality. I remember walking in and feeling instantly at ease. The kind of place with cozy wooden tables, the aroma of fresh bread, and staff who greeted us with genuine smiles. I thought to myself, surely even Marco can't ruin this. But within minutes of sitting down, he proved me wrong. The server, a young man who couldn't have been more than 20, hadn't come to take our order immediately. We'd been sitting for perhaps 5 minutes when Marco began tapping impatiently on the table. Then he raised his hand abruptly and, in a voice loud enough for the entire room to hear, demanded, "Can we get some service here? Is there even a manager in this place?" I felt my cheeks flush. People were turning their heads, whispering. The poor waiter hurried over, apologizing, and Marco greeted him not with patience, but with a scowl, as though he had already been gravely wronged. "We've been sitting here forever." Forever? It'd been barely moments. Throughout the meal, the tension never eased. He criticized the bread for being too dry, the soup for being too salty, the main dish for being too small. Helena tried, in her gentle way, to smooth things over, laughing lightly and saying things like, "Oh, you're so particular." But I could see the strain in her smile. I wanted to reach across the table, to hold her hand and ask if she was really okay, but I didn't dare. When the bill arrived, the final act of humiliation played out. Marco spotted a charge for an item he had specifically ordered, a side dish he'd demanded, in fact, but now refused to pay for. "This wasn't what I asked for," he argued, though we all knew it was. He insisted on seeing the manager again, his voice rising, his face flushed with anger. I wanted to disappear into the floor. In desperation, I offered, "Please let me just cover it." But Helena shook her head, saying, "Well, he's already talked to the manager," as though that settled everything. I left the restaurant that day drained, humiliated, and oddly guilty, as though I had been complicit in his behavior simply by sitting there. Later that night, I couldn't stop thinking about the staff, the young waiter, the way the mood of that warm little restaurant had been poisoned by one man's tantrum. I sat down to my computer and typed out an email to the restaurant, apologizing for the scene. They hadn't asked for it, but I needed to say it, to distance myself from his cruelty in some way. And that's when I knew I was done. It wasn't just about the restaurant or even that single lunch. It was about years of enduring this behavior, of sacrificing my time and peace of mind for the sake of politeness, for the sake of Helena. But I realized that my time is precious. I'm a working mom with limited hours to spare, and those hours should be spent with people who lift me up, not drag me down. The thought of another double date, another evening wasted in embarrassment and tension, made me feel physically ill. I told myself the brutal truth. I would rather scrub my toilet than sit through another meal with Marco. The problem is Helena. She has always been someone I love dearly. But over the years, I've noticed how much she bends herself around Marco's moods. She often can't commit to plans without checking with him first, even when he's not directly involved. More than once, she has asked me to keep an evening free, but then leave me hanging for weeks without confirmation because she couldn't clear it with Marco. I've seen the way her light dims when he's around, the way her laughter falters, the way her independence seems to shrink. And I can't help but feel that I might be her only true friend left. That thought haunts me because it makes me hesitate to pull away, even as I know I can't keep going like this. Now I find myself in a painful dilemma. If Helena asks for another double date, what do I say? How do I tell her that I cannot, will not, spend another evening with her husband? How do I protect my own boundaries without shattering the fragile thread that still connects us? The fear of losing her is real, but the fear of losing myself, of wasting my already stretched thin energy on someone like Marco, feels even greater. I love my friend. I want her in my life, but I've made up my mind. I will not see her husband again. And if that choice costs me the friendship, I'll grieve it, but at least I'll know I stayed true to myself.
Drop your comments below and don't forget to subscribe.